Okay, so welcome, my friends, to Lighten Up and Unstuck Your What the Fuck. I am so excited to be with my new friend, Heather Abbott. Heather is joining us from Digby, Nova Scotia, Canada. And I heard Heather speak about money and about how our anxiety around money and our relationship with money can be so much like being in an abusive relationship. And that struck me so deeply that I was like, I need to talk to this person. She needs to talk to my people. Heather, I'm so glad to share space with you. Thank you.
I am so privileged to know you. You're amazing. I'm glad you reached out. Yeah, so money is a relationship. Like you have a relationship with money, and people will want to tell you how you should manage that relationship. How do you get over the problems in your relationship? You know how people are. They like to tell you stuff about what you should do, right? But it's in the same as if you're in an abusive relationship, you're not going to leave it until you're ready. You're going to be ashamed to admit that you're in it. People don't want people to know they have financial problems, and they don't want people to know that they're in bad relationships. There's worry about if you get out of it. So if you become rich or if you leave the relationship, what are people going to think of me? Will I lose my friends? What's going to happen? How does this actually break down, right, into the day-to-day? There's so many similarities that you can just, so many ways that it's the same.
Oh my God, Heather, I am having such a what the fuck moment right now, because as you said that, I was like, okay, I want to talk to Heather about relationships with money. And like, I know that I talk about a cultural stew, and the cultural stew that I grew up in, money was something to be coveted. There was never enough of it. It didn't grow on trees. You didn't give it away, and you didn't talk about it. That was the other big thing, is you didn't talk about it. And when you did talk about it, all of the energy around talking about money was quite negative and heavy and whatever. So, and I, as you talked about that, I'm like, yeah, like that's where I was thinking. And then as you said that about, the shame in addressing your debt, or recognizing you have debt, or saying this is my financial situation. Mm-hmm. And then another layer of potential shame in what if, or when I do, because I plan on manifesting plenty of abundance, will that change my relationships with other people? Yeah. So all of a sudden you're talking about so many different layers of relationships. Holy fuck.
I know, it's an onion. There's definitely layers to it. There's, in what you said, there's even more similarities, right? Like, don't talk about it. Well, if you're not going to talk about what to watch for in relationships, and you're not going to talk about how to manage money, your kids aren't going to do too well, are they? Like, for one of the keys to avoid a bad relationship that you stick in, that you don't leave, is to have set boundaries. And it's the same for your finances. Have set boundaries, because what happens is, if it's just sort of like your boundary is sort of like a piece of rope that's thrown on the floor, you just kick it a little bit and kick it a little bit. And then, like, for a guy or somebody doing that to you abusively, they just knock the rope a little bit and knock it a little bit, and oh, they reacted. So I'm going to step back. And it looks like they step back, but they're likely 10 feet in from where that rope started, because you didn't make a set boundary, a set rule, right? And without a rule, you can't cross a line if there are no lines. You have to hear that one, right?
You can't cross a line if there are no lines.
Yeah. So if you don't have rules around your money and how you're going to manage it, again, you can't cross the line because you didn't make any.
It's so interesting. We're working with a couple with our adult children right now to help them try and understand their finances better. And as we're working with them, I'm also recognizing that we're in a position where we need to figure out our finances I think in a more knowledgeable way, and try and approach it as numbers with boundaries. That boundary thing, that is so interesting, right?
Yeah, well, that applies to everything. I mean, right? Like if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to anything you want to do, you have to have some sort of framework for it.
And there needs to be a line, you know?
Yeah, and I think it usually starts, the best way to move into that is to create the new shell, the new bucket, or who you want to be. Who do you want to step into? What is that position? So if you're trying to create more wealth and you're used to having only a small amount of wealth, it's like going to the ocean with a teacup. You need to create a bigger bucket. And if you're trying to create a better relationship, you need to be a better you, because you will draw to you what you are. Not that you're abusive, but if you're broken, you bring in broken people. And that's not just like romantic relationships. That's all our relationships. You are the average of the 5 people you are around the most, is something I've heard several times. Your finances are the average of the 5 people you're around the most. And it's because those are more of a reflection for us, a mirror of where we are. Because energetically, vibrationally, you bring in people that match you, right?
Yeah.
And situations that match you. So if what you look around and what you see is lower vibration than what you want, you have to raise your vibration, and then things will change.
And you know what, I'm so glad you said that, because it's true, right? Like like attracts like. It's simple, and that is basic science. Like attracts like. And we know that energetically we find our likes. They just kind of magically appear out of nowhere, just like you magically appearing out of nowhere. and us being able to have this conversation. But you're so right, like having that feeling, going to the ocean with a teacup,
Yeah.
is a beautiful analogy. And
it's not mine. I got it from somewhere, but I don't know where.
No, but it is. And you know what? Thank you for sharing it, because it's a great analogy about limitations and possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And the other one that is actually a great analogy for finances is the leaky bucket. Because like one of the clients who, every time I'm asked, actually I pretty well bring up her success story. She's a millionaire, but she was paying out thousands in penalties and things because she didn't want to look at the finances, because she thought that if she looked too closely at where it was going, or that she might feel negative thoughts and pinch off the flow, because it flowed in easily, right?
Okay.
And when I pointed out to her that you have to look, because if you're worried about it, there's already a rock in the stream. So we pull that out and it will flow, right? And I forget where I got into this, because I was going to tell you something.
The leaky bucket.
Oh yeah, the leaky bucket. So with her, the money was going out the bottom in ways that she wasn't looking at, right? But because she worked with me, she was in my course that I had done, and she was able to look at her finances, and just me telling her that one thing shifted her mindset. And I find that with a lot of people, I just say the right thing and their mindset takes that 180 that it needs to start taking action. And because of that, she'll now not have all the leaks in the bucket. So the abundance that she pours in there so easily is going to overflow so much more, and she can aim it where she wants it to go.
And I think that's the other thing about abundance, like I want abundance because, and I am manifesting abundance because it doesn't just create freedom for me, it provides so much opportunity for me to share. And so, when you talk about that overflow, like that opportunity to share is like, that like lights a fire in my belly.
Yeah. That's what she wants to do too. And anyone who's ever said money makes you bad or evil, no. Having lots of money amplifies who you are because you are freely able to be who you are. The only thing that holds a lot of people back from being the most generous person they can be is the fact they don't have the money to do it, right? You can only give so much without taking yourself completely under. But there are lots of people who do it. And those people, that's my mission, is to help heart-centered people and entrepreneurs take their place amongst the wealthy. And part of that is dealing with a big part of it is dealing with the mindset. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm a CPA financial advisor. I've got all that knowledge, all the years of experience as an entrepreneur. The numbers come into it. But if I hadn't just mentioned that, likely you'd go away from this interview never knowing that I do anything to do with numbers. But it's essential. Both parts. You have to have both, because if I can teach you things about managing your money, but I don't talk to you about building a bigger bucket, it's not going to help you.
Right.
It's like winning the lottery. It's gone like in 3
That's what I was
years,
just
right?
going to say. It's exactly like those stories you hear of those lottery winners who absolutely, for lack of a better term, piss it away, because they weren't prepared to receive it. And
They don't know how to live with it. They don't have any presets on how to deal with it.
well, and you know, Heather, what's interesting about that is that I have seen that in multiple different avenues, even in situations with people who are in poverty situations, for example, and we think that if we plop them into a house and give them housing, that their problems are solved, right? Like it's kind of the same idea. It's the same extreme. It's not just the framework, it's everything that comes with it. It's who that person is coming at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who wins the lottery, I encourage them to find a very, very heart-centered, kind financial advisor. I mean, I would have been good, but somebody like me, because I'm not actually doing that. I don't manage people's money, but you do need help, because there are things, there are places. You know how people have pensions when they leave work?
Yeah.
You can actually buy that. You can buy yourself an annuity. It works like a pension, right? So you buy yourself an income from your earnings, and then you don't have to worry about people hitting you up for cash all the time, because it's like, no, I don't have cash. I have an income. That's what I have.
Right. Right.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
different things you can do. So
Let's spend a minute with the other end of the spectrum. What would your piece of advice be to someone who is piling up in credit card debt and feeling like they just don't have a handle on their finances? And
yeah, they're feeling overwhelmed, hopeless, and they want to give up.
yeah, and you know, I feel like there are just a lot of people in that space right now.
There are in Canada in 2012 or 13, I don't remember. The statistics were somewhere around 64% of people retire in debt. And in the Maritimes here, it was over 80% retire in debt.
Retire.
You don't want that. So yes, credit cards and car loans are the two biggest loans that will cause you issues. Car loans, because the interest comes off in the first way more than at the end. It's front end loaded for interest. So you basically pay them all the profit before you pay down your loan. And the way they work at car dealerships now, you will never own a vehicle that's worth as much as what you owe on it until it's fully paid for, basically. Wow. Yeah, never take those long-term car loans. For credit card debt, you can avoid some of the interest by rotating the debt. So if you know that you have a certain amount that you're buying that month, and you're like, oh, but I can't use a credit card because it's way up, well, put that on the credit card, put the cash on the card immediately, right? It rotates it, because new, like if you use it like me, where I pay it off in full every month, I never pay any interest. So as long as you're paying, it's like churning it. It's just money goes on, money comes off. The best way to use a credit card is if you use it, you put the money on it immediately. Do not ever use a credit card as a loan. Yes, you may be struggling. Those payday loans, oh my God, don't touch them.
No.
Do not touch them.
No.
All you are doing is making it harder the next time by exponential amounts. Rather than not being able to pay your bills now and finding a solution, you're making it so that not only can you not pay the bills now, but you also have interest added on top of it. So you have more bills. And I know people realize this once they're in the debt. The best thing you can do is follow the advice I just said, pay the things immediately. And the booklet that I have that everybody can have will show you exactly where your money is going. When people say live within your means, no one teaches you how to calculate that. I do.
Oh my
The,
gosh.
the
What
booklet teaches you.
awesome gift. Okay, so this booklet, I know you are giving this booklet to anybody who listens. They just need to go somewhere to get it. I will make sure that the link is in the show notes, but can you tell me what your website is?
Yeah, it's HC Abbott, ABBOTT.ca. So Canada.ca. If you go to .com, you'll still find me, but it won't be the right website. So hcabbott.ca. And it just at the top, it'll say be an insider. That puts you on my email list. No, you will not get many emails. If you get one every 2 weeks, you're lucky. If it's more than that, it's because there's something special going on, and maybe I'll be giving something away or something like that. I don't use it to promote a whole bunch of things, but there is some value there. And if I am giving something away, you will hear about it. Yeah, so that's where you would go, hcabbott.ca. Get the booklet, open it, download it. It's not going to do you any good on your computer. And I know you don't want to deal with it now. I know you don't want to. You have to. Okay. This is an accountant financial advisor. I know giving someone my card is pointless. They don't want to know about it. It's like dealing with wills and taxes.
Oh my God.
No, I'll put it off. Don't put it off. Even number avoidant people find this system super easy.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to put you to the test, my friend, because I am one of those people who I am so one of those people who is tax avoidant and paperwork avoidant and numbers avoidant. And you know what? I'm not going to say it hasn't worked for me in the past, but I know it's not working for me now. And I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time for a change. So I'm looking forward to downloading it. And I am so excited that our listeners can not just download it, but print it and put pen or pencil to paper and actually feel good about moving forward with a sense of understanding and insight.
Can I give one more thing?
Of course.
It just popped in my head because of me saying you want to avoid everything. Wills are another thing people avoid. And there is a free type of will. It's not valid everywhere, and you do need to look it up in your area. I did a whole podcast episode on it. It's called a holograph will. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Heather C. Abbott, or Prosperity and Possibilities on the podcast, it's there as well. You will be able to find, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's creating my free holograph will, and see if it's valid where you are. And it just takes 5 minutes and a piece of paper and a pen.
Yeah, the most important piece, of course, is to make sure that it's valid where you are.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that, Heather, because I know for me, when my first husband passed away, he was 36 years old. I was 33 years old. We had a 4-year-old and an 8-month-old. And the only reason we had a will was because he was a lawyer. And he was like, it's a good idea to have these things done. And I was like, we're pretty young. And thank God. That's all I can say is thank God. So I always say the same thing. Make sure you have a will done. Make sure that you and your spouse are on all, or your partner are on all of your bills. Because otherwise you have to pay disconnect and reconnect fees, and make sure that you have an insurance and some kind of plan moving forward in the event that something does happen. So yes. So you know what, Heather, I really, really appreciate you suggesting that. That's a very important piece.
Well, I did have to deal with one myself. And if it hadn't been for that holograph will, I would have had to go to court just to get permission to do with the estate what the government says I should do. Dying without a will is just plain mean. Don't do it. All it takes is 5 minutes to write out a holograph will. Until you get to a lawyer, it is not a replacement for a really good will, because lawyers know stuff we don't.
Right. Right.
I know some of it, but I don't share that. So
and you know what, in reality is there's a reason we have those professionals like accountants and
yes,
lawyers. We have different professionals and different specialists in different areas to be able to meet all of our needs. And that's what makes the wonderful worlds that we live in. Heather, from the bottom of my heart, I am so, so grateful. One final takeaway for our listeners today.
Take action on the things that you're learning. Like, I know people don't want to do these things, but please hear us. Go do it. Actually do it. Get the booklet, because I don't have to give this information away for free. I do it because I know people need it. I have people who are doing well because I taught them this. There's girls in their 20s who are doing supremely well financially, far better than their friends, because I taught them this. Go get it.
Oh, my friends, go and get this. Go and get this. At whatever stage you're in your life, this is an opportunity to get a better handle on it moving forward. Oh my God.
There's not anything in it for me. This is just me actually trying to help. Yes, you'll be on my email list, but I actually don't really sell to my email list. So there's really nothing in it. For me, it's just having you in my universe and getting you to know who I am and benefit.
And you know what, Heather, I am so, so glad for who you are. I really am so glad for who you are. Sharing time and space with you and sharing with my listeners, our listeners, about, you know, how they can unstuck their what the fuck. And again, the reminder that your relationship with your finances can be, but doesn't have to be, like an abusive relationship. Thank you so much, my friend. For our listeners, thank you for listening in for another amazing episode of Lighten Up and Unstuck Your What the Fuck. Don't forget to follow me on socials. And if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, or anything else, reach out and let me know. You are awesome. Thank you.